Hello, I'm Kate. My talk is called Anxiety in Games, or Why Super Mario 64 is a Survival Horror. That's fun. Okay, so just a little caveat before we start. Apparently, my fancy presentation didn't work, so it's been rebuilt. So if there's like a picture of butts or something like that, I didn't put it in. That's my story. I'm going to stick with it. Okay, so what is a survival horror? What am I talking about? Well, this is working. Yay. The main three things in a survival horror: fear, limitations, vulnerability. Now, I said I wasn't going to do a poem. That's a poem, right? Yeah. So you can't solve problems in a survival horror like you'd solve problems in a normal video game with violence and bazookas and grenades. Sometimes you have guns, but they're normally rubbish guns, and there's like 5 bullets, and you waste them all on a zombie, and it's embarrassing, and everyone laughs at you. This is getting personal. So you have to resort to other, more creative methods of getting out of the situation. So a game that's all about fear, about invisible monsters of some kind, a game that limits you, so you have to be careful what you do and what you use, and how you use your resources. A game that leaves you vulnerable to stronger enemies, so the only way you can win is to exploit their weaknesses. Does this remind you of anything? Yes, Super Mario 64, which is totally a survival horror. It's like I gave it away in the first slide. Okay, so you wake up in the grounds of a castle. You're totally alone. There's no way out. You're surrounded by trees. Pay no attention to the bright colors. It's a trick. Gone ahead of myself. There we go. You enter the castle, and you're immediately tormented by a laugh. It's all like, wah, ha, 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 like that, but more scary. And, you know, it comes from nowhere. It's disembodied. It's kind of scary. Yeah? Yeah? The next thing you see is this guy, right? He's a friendly little guy, mutated beyond all belief. There's a mushroom growing out of his scalp, and after you talk to him, he fades away into the ether. Wait, mushroom guys? What does that remind you of? The Last of Us. See? I know what I'm talking about. The game then continues with what I consider to be several good indications of a survival horror. So you've got... Rah. I forgot I did that. But there you go. I thought it wasn't scary enough, apparently. So you've got misleading corridors. Now this bit, it's a staircase. It just goes on forever. That is terrifying, isn't it? Look at the, like, Bowser faces coming at you. Ugh. Ugh. Lost what I'm talking about again. You know, you've got hints at some kind of several nightmarish parallel universes hidden within paintings with 10-foot-tall penguins. Like, this is meant to be one of the cutest levels in the game. Look at it. If that was in any other game, you'd shit yourself. And you've got, of course, man-eating pianos. Yeah, look at that. Ugh. I've lost my place again. Resources are limited. You've got a limited number of lives, and you're constantly vulnerable to about all of Bowser's gross turtle things, because the only weapon at your disposal, it's not guns, it's not grenades, it's not even like a crowbar, it's your boots. Apparently there's a Wikipedia entry for his boots. I'll give you time to read it. It's interesting, it's not interesting. Let's move on. But fear is where it gets interesting. Now, Super Mario 64 is not really a jump scare kind of game. Like, there is jumping. Thank you for laughing. But it's not a jump scare kind of game. I mean, when I was a kid, Super Mario 64, I considered to be one of the scariest games out there for the reasons I've just described. That was in comparison to games like Banjo-Kazooie. That's the scariest picture I could find, by the way. It's pretty scary. And Lego races. Turns out it's also Lego racist. Yeah. Still, good game. It wasn't until much, much later in my life that I realized that being scared of games like Super Mario 64 is actually just a manifestation of a lifelong anxiety issue. Yes! Finding out that so many problems and fears in your childhood can all be explained by this one simple diagnosis is a bit like finding out that your key ring is actually a bottle opener. Or your phone is also a compass. No way. But obviously it's a little bit better than that. Well, it's a compass. As it turns out, you can apply the main criteria for a survival horror to anxiety itself. Segue! Constant fear, limited resources, a feeling of vulnerability. It's like I planned this. Oh yeah, much like Super Mario 64's mostly invisible boss, Bowser, that guy, who keeps to the sidelines and lets minions and quicksand do all the hard work for him. Lame. Anxiety gives you this constant feeling that something bad is always going to happen. Rubbish. Everything on the list of my anxiety symptoms that I've learned to recognize and loathe over the years can be related back to the classic survival horror game Super Mario 64. The worst, most insidious, and unfortunately most common symptom is endless, irrational worry that always, without fail, leads to the worst conclusion possible. So, right, I'm on the street, a stranger looks at me funny. I'm instantly like, oh God, my skirt's tucked into my pants, is it? It's not right now. I checked, because that would be really embarrassing. Or maybe my makeup's all wrong, like that. It's not. Again, I checked. I'm on top of this. Or even, maybe just my hair's on fire. Yeah, gifts are great. Maybe an old friend didn't invite me to their party. It must be because they despised me for years when we were at school, and not just because I haven't actually talked to them in 5 years. Is there a spot on my face? No. It's chin cancer. I did that today. Chin cancer in cats. I mean, I probably shouldn't make fun of that. It's probably like a serious thing. Oh, yeah. But this fear that looms over you is totally irrational, in the same way that it's irrational to think that you can't get through a game, that you can't beat a boss, that you can't get past a certain point, because of course you can. Games are designed to be beaten, you know? That's how they're designed. And gamification, it works in a number of ways. For nerds like, well, I'm going to say like me, because I don't want to generalize all you lovely people, but it's the way we force ourselves to go to the gym or do work or meet new people. It's the reason Tinder and Facebook and Twitter exist, because making social interaction into a fun, numbers-driven game, that's me, by the way, it's something you can understand because it's stat-based. It's comprehensible when it's, you know, squidged into a little number like that. So yeah, gamification makes the world more comprehensible. So why not try to understand anxiety the way we understand games? I mean, fundamentally, anxiety is a chemical imbalance, but that's boring. To me, it's a survival horror game. And my only weapons are rationality and self-care. But I'm only on like level 3, so, you know, I'll let you know how it goes. Done!